For Prime Minister Modi, leadership is not merely the administration of a state, but the inspiration of a nation, a huge nation. Guided by that conviction, he has transformed India. He reshaped the landscape in public health, industry, agriculture, and infrastructure. He ignited a digital revolution and drove historic advances in economic improvement and inclusion. He made India the fastest growing major economy on earth, lifting hundreds of millions of lives. In doing so, he gave new meaning to the words, Jai Hind, long live India. For over 2 millennia, India gave Jews a home and, in our darkest hours, a refuge. India's ancient Jewish communities helped build this land and this country and continue to enrich it with India's culture, cuisine, and warmth. Diplomatic relations were established early, but it was the two prime ministers, Modi and Netanyahu, who forged a true strategic partnership. In 2017, our guest made history as the first Prime Minister of India to visit Israel. I was honored at Prime Minister Netanyahu's invitation to meet him as a Knesset freshman. Today, it is my great privilege as Speaker of the Knesset to welcome him as the first Prime Minister of India to address the Knesset and to make history once again. Thank you, Prime Minister Modi. Between these milestones, cooperation has deepened across every field, most notably in security and technology. As you, Prime Minister, said, technology yields its greatest benefit when shared. In that spirit, our nations are invaluable assets to one another. Dear friend and esteemed counterpart, Om Birla, Speaker of the Lok Sabha, we signed the first ever MOU between our parliaments. Over the course of my visit, I encountered a great civilization, a thriving democracy, and a people of remarkable dignity and resolve. Indian holiday of Holi will coincide. Colors will fill the air as both our nations celebrate light's triumph over darkness. Both our peoples will proclaim the same timeless truth. Hope always prevails. Prime Minister, you are, as King David was, both statesman and poet. In your poem, Ash, Hope, you describe it as a flame that bursts forth to sear the darkness with its might. That flame burns in the Psalms of King David too. To Jerusalem, welcome to the Knesset.
You know, heads of state, prime ministers, they come to the Knesset. We greet them warmly. And it's always an exciting moment. For all of us, and for me too. But I have to tell you, Narendra, my dear friend, I'm deeply, deeply moved by your visit here today. Because I have to be diplomatic, I will not rank it, because I'll get into trouble. But I've never been more moved than by your visit here with us, a great friend of Israel, a great champion of the Indian-Israeli alliance, and a great leader on the world stage. Welcome to Jerusalem, my dear friend, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and your distinguished delegation. Welcome to Jerusalem. Now, I said, Narendra, my dear friend, these are not just words. I would almost venture to say, more than a friend, a brother. In many ways, brothers. Now, when you were last here, the two of us, were on the Mediterranean coast, and I said, why don't we take off our shoes and go into the water, which we wanted to purify, and we did, with Israeli technology. So, with all deference to our Christian friends, they said we didn't wade in the water, we walked on water. That's not true. We didn't walk on water, but we did perform miracles since then. Because what we have done is we've doubled our trade, tripled our cooperation, quadrupled our understandings in ways that I cannot begin to describe. And in some ways, probably shouldn't describe. But it's been a wondrous friendship, both personally, between the two of us, and between our two countries and our two peoples. You know, earlier today, my wife Sarah and I greeted you in the airport, and just as you came down the steps, we embraced each other. Because Prime Minister Modi's personal embrace is something special. It's called the Modi hug. It's well known around the world. And when you hug someone closely, truly, you know it's not an act, it's a real thing. It's called the Modi hug. So I want to return the hug here too from every single one of the Knesset members. And it's not only an indication of the personal relations, of the personal friendship between us, but it really reflects the warmth of the tie between our two peoples. Now, India, as you know, India is a gigantic power of almost 1.5 billion people. Israel is somewhat smaller, somewhat. But Israel is gigantic too. It's a gigantic power. Gigantic in spirit, gigantic in deed, capable of performing miracles. And I want to say that the alliance between us is an enormous multiplier of our individual powers. Enormous multiplier. It's a multiplier of the spirit and a multiplier of deeds and capabilities. We are two ancient civilizations going back thousands of years. And if you look at where human civilization developed on the planet, it developed in a few places. And chief among them, the Indus Valley and the Jordan Valley. These are the places where enormous things developed, enormous spiritual things, conceptual things, matters of the heart, matters of the mind, matters of morality. We're two ancient civilizations, and we had to go through the voyage of time, the odyssey of time, with so many trials and tribulations, and yet 80 years ago we emerged, the two of us, from British rule, almost 80 years, almost at the same time, achieved our independence. We share so many common interests. We're two democracies. You're a gigantic democracy, but Israel is also, think about what we had to do, what we had to go through, and how we maintained our democracy against challenges that I believe few countries, if any, have faced. We are now deepening our deep bond. You didn't flinch, you didn't waver, you didn't give excuses. You stood next to Israel, you stood by Israel, you stood for Israel, you stood for the truth. Thank you, my friend. Which means lion, Ari Spitz. And Ari lost his two legs and his arms, one of his arms. And he has prosthetics. He's sitting there smiling, cheering with his one healthy arm. And he says, Israel lives, Am Yisrael Chai. World where anti-Semitism is rising, India stands out. A civilization where Jews were never persecuted by the state, only welcomed. We don't forget that too. Thank you, India. I know you know this, but I want to make sure that everyone knows this. In the First World War, when we were still under Ottoman occupation, those who helped us liberate this country, the British Army, in which there were Jewish fighters, including Jabotinsky, with the 1st Jewish Battalion, but also brave Iranian soldiers and commanders who fought like lions in the battle against Haifa for the liberation of Haifa. The forces were pushed back, and who stormed forward gave their lives. Indian commanders, we never forget that too. They gave their lives for us.
Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm only going to take a minute of your time to make sure you know whatever happened here today has nothing to do with you. The entire state of Israel. Let's try and not make things worse. The entire state of Israel is filled with admiration to your leadership, to your friendship, to the fact that you were here for us in our time of trouble, and to the alliance, the eternal alliance between our two states. So thank you very much for being here, and we are all, both sides of the aisle, looking forward to hear your speech. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.